I'm telling you, your kid could be demonized and attacked, but your doctor calls it autism.
Greetings, fine shits. I come to you today with very good news. Everything's chill. Everything's good. You're good. Don't even worry about it. And I say that because I figured out the secret to everlasting eternal life. It's actually really simple. Just listen to everyone that we're going to be talking about today and then just do the opposite of whatever they say. You know, being an ex-evangelical that likes to talk about the harm that the church can do sometimes. One element of the church that I've never really covered a lot are bad pastors. I think technically like that Gabriel Storm kid who I think was lobotomized. I'm not sure though. And then Talon Michael, who definitely did the lobotomy on him.
Did you know that medical scientists have actually found proof of God in our human DNA?
And honestly, I think part of that was because growing up, I didn't have a lot of experience with bad pastors. Like, don't get me wrong, I heard some stories like on the news and stuff of other ones. But most of the pastors that I knew, like growing up, were always really nice and respectful. They actually liked what they did and loved getting out there to like help serve the community. Genuinely overall really solid people, like to this day. Or like maybe the kids in the church weren't hot enough for them to take any chances. But I think for every good one, there's quite a few bad ones that are doing way more harm than good for the church and like religion in general. And thanks to the technical bounds we've made this century, they're basically broadcasting all of that themselves. So today we're going to take a look at some bad pastors. I feel like I should change that title because it sounds like I'm saying we're going to like rank how hot they are. Today we're going to find out who the sexiest pastor is. Number 1, Joyce Meyer. So the first one I want to talk about was from some headlines I actually saw going around, where a pastor named Marvin Sapp had a very direct approach to asking for offering.
There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. It's 1,000 that's watching online. This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight.
Nigga, no.
Before I say anything else, there's something I really need to know. Is that like how that shirt's designed, or is he just sweating his balls off? Bro is drenched thinking about that money he's about to get. And look, I know tithing is a thing every church does, and it helps, you know, support the church, keep the lights on, the pastor buy a $1,000 sweater for some reason. But the whole point is that you're giving what you feel called to give. Sorry to quote the Bible, I just don't know how many pastors know this is actually in there. But it does say to give whatever you have decided on in your heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Do you think anyone was happy to be like trapped in that sanctuary and giving a musty dude $20? I feel like we should, you know, like it looks like he needs a new shirt. So at first I thought he was just kidding, because like I don't think you're supposed to like lock people in a room and then ask for a specific dollar amount from them. Not only is that not biblical in nature, but I think that's also like robbery and taking hostages for a ransom. So I thought this was all a joke until he got to this part.
I'm gonna have y'all come to the altar and give it, because I need to see 1,000 people moving. Bring them baskets. I want the baskets up here. I want to see the folks.
How much you want to bet like the ushers were gonna shake people down when they got up there? Okay, look, man, 10 is all I got. I'm really sorry. There's a 50 in your wallet too. What? Yeah, there is, but I'm getting an oil change later, and I need. All right, look, I'm being honest. I don't have any cash on me right now. Do you have a debit card on you? Yeah, I do. I don't really know what. Okay, great. Then I don't think we have a problem here at all. Another thing that makes me really sad about this is knowing that this would actually work on people. There's some people with such a huge passion for their church with like all their heart and soul. All it would take is the pastor going, I think you can do a little better than that. They could empty their wallet out and feel okay about it. And they'll think it's God calling out to them and not the fact that they're being manipulated by a dude that needs to accept that he's balding. Like, Jesus Christ, man. That's what you need to be praying for. See, now we know what he needs that $40,000 for. He's trying to catch a flight to Turkey. I'm gonna start like making videos where they stop and they won't go until everyone gives me enough money to continue it. Look, it costs money to sit here and make fun of stupid pastors, all right? And while I was researching and getting the clip from that video, I also found one where Marvin Sapp did an interview and like addressed all of this.
That offering was taken last year. This was a service that happened last August.
Oh, dude. Marvin, my apologies. I had no idea that was such a long time ago. I mean, like 8 whole months? Are you kidding me? People are still upset about that? Like, dude, you've clearly changed, right? It looks like the only thing you really changed is your shirt because you're not sweating your tits off anymore.
It didn't happen at my local church. It actually happened
at a national organization's international meeting.
We've got people from all over the world. This is amazing. Maybe they'll have more money than my broke-ass congregation.
Understand, I never said lock the doors.
Yeah.
I said shut the doors.
I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors.
You know, looking at the video, maybe I was a little more assertive than I should have been. And I can apologize for that. The $40,000, if it was $40,000 that was raised for the purpose of taking care of the budget for their conference.
Gotcha. So he just doesn't give a shit at all about any of it. I'll give it to him. He never explicitly said to lock the doors, but he did say to close them very aggressively, giving a specific dollar amount that they needed. And I've been to my fair share of church services, conferences, weekend retreats, what have you, and never at any of them do I ever remember ushers being told to close the doors before offering, or being told what amount we needed to give, and being told we have to walk up to the stage and walk by the pastor when we tithe, because that has some pretty fucking sinister implications, man. And I think it's very telling that he says he could apologize for it, but doesn't. Now look, I know everyone's upset that I know you guys caught me siphoning all of your paychecks directly into the church's bank account, and for that, I could totally apologize. Okay, so will you? Will I what?
What has happened is people have taken clickbait. And because of that, my church has been getting phone calls. People have called my church and cussed me out. My staff are afraid because I've received death threats over $20 and shut the door.
Okay, I'm gonna call bullshit on both of those real quick. Those are always the two fallback plans if somebody gets caught doing something. So they'll either say that it was clickbait or out of context, or maybe it was AI or something like that, or they'll say that they've been getting death threats and that absolves them of the shitty thing that they did. No, this whole thing is clickbait, all right? I never told anyone to give me their money. Okay, well, here's the raw audio we got from your church's live stream. I want people to give me their money. Okay, well, people are being really mean to me and they need to stop it. So Marvin was clearly in the wrong there, even if it was well-intentioned, by trying to get back the budget for the conference, which I feel wouldn't have been a problem if you had the money for the conference in the first place, but I'm not a pastor, I don't care. And I didn't think there was a worse way to handle a church offering until I watched this next video.
Y'all ain't saying nothing. Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. I don't want to hear no more excuses about what y'all can't afford. You can't afford it because you don't see the value here. I'm over your cheap expressions. See, that's how I know you still poor, broke, busted, and disgusted, because of how you've been honoring me.
Yeah, I almost couldn't believe this one, because I'll be damned if I ever let someone with a Jerry curl talk to me like that. Great value Lionel Richie is tripping. I just can't imagine going to a church where the pastor calls you poor, broke, busted, and disgusting, and still going back the next week. There's people in the crowd cheering like he's not talking about them too. Oh, I get it. You won't give me money because you're poor and fat and ugly, and you smell like onions. You probably eat onions like Shrek, don't you? You nasty ogres not wanting to give any money to your church, you bunch of idiots. Okay, fine, here's a 20. Thank you so much, you beautiful divine creation of the Lord.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money? Huh? I'm not worth your Red Lobster money? Huh?
Now, I will say I've not heard a specific dollar amount from him, so I will give him that. But places to grab lunch after church are not cheap these days, especially Red fucking Lobster. I know it's not fine dining, but it's not like they have a dollar menu either. Yeah, I would rather have cheddar biscuits and a crab Alfredo than listen to you call me broke and disgusting. I just don't understand what goes through their heads when they say this stuff. Do you think berating and manipulating people are gonna make them want to give to the church? Because I think all you're doing is pushing them further away from it. And speaking of pastors pushing people away from the church.
Hey, sit down. Sit down. What are you coming up here to do? You want to come take over the service? Huh? What do you want? What?
I just want a prayer, man.
Get out of here.
Can I get a little grace?
No, you can't. No, you get out of here. Get him out of here. Drag this bozo out. Pull him out. Hey, help him out. Get him out. I'm the man of God here. I meet the qualifications. I run this church. And if you don't like it, then get out. This is not some church where every first-time visitor and brand-new believer and people who've never even read the Bible are going to come up and take over the service. Not happening. Because you know what? I'm not going to pastor a oneness cult. I'm not going to pastor a Pentecostal church. I'm the pastor of a Baptist church. And if you're not a Baptist, then get out.
Hey God, is this your man's right here? So right off the bat, before anything, if you're a pastor and someone asks you for prayer and you turn them away or kick them out of your church, I don't think you should be a pastor anymore, like just straight up. The only thing I can think of is if it was like a security precaution, if he was like a newer person in the church or whatever. But like also, praying for people is part of your fucking job. You kind of signed up to do that when you decided to be a pastor. What if you broke your leg and had to go to the doctor? And when you told the doctor what was going on, they like had someone drag you out and called you a bozo. And then they like punched your broken leg or something. And then they closed the door and locked you in until you gave them money. That part's actually accurate if you live in America, but I also find it interesting that this made him go on a ramble about how only he's qualified to be up there.
Okay? I'm the man of God here. I meet the qualifications. I run this church. And if you don't like it,
like, I don't think I was going to question that until you started saying that, so now I am going to question it. So I ended up looking up this guy's qualifications, and turns out I don't think he should be up there. So this is Pastor Steven Anderson, who started the New Independent Fundamentalist Baptist movement, known for some controversies, such as praising the Pulse nightclub shooting that happened a while back. You know, praising a massacre, but believing like you're the sovereign ones in this scenario. Steven himself also has a history of some pretty weird things, like some pretty anti-Semitic stuff that I don't think I can detail without getting this video taken down. He delivered a sermon where he prayed for the death of Barack Obama. He's been banned from over 30 countries. Can't imagine why. And has also been accused of domestic abuse by 4 of his 12 children. So Marvin Sapp hasn't sounded too bad now. Like, now that I think about it, maybe $20 isn't that much money. Now, I thought Steven was like his own level of this like insane egotistical cult leader. And like he probably still is, let's be honest here. But the way he acted in that video is like this weird personality archetype that I see in a lot of pastors now. Case in point, there's this video where a pastor kicks some kids out of the church because they were on their phone.
I have instructed my security staff to pick you up by the seat of the britches and throw your wicked tail out of here. You're not going to play with your cell phone. You're not going to lollygag around. You're not going to talk. Justice. Look up here while I'm preaching, son. You ought to have your eyes on your preacher while the man of God's preaching. You shouldn't be falling around. And you parents sit there and act dumb and stupid and let your kids act like a bunch of idiots. I'm going to tell you why our kids are messed up. You're enabling them. All I'm asking you to do is to shut up for 30 minutes and let me try to put some Bible in you. That'll save you.
You're trying to put the Bible in some kids? You sick fuck. It's also funny because I found out his name is Phil Kidd. That's how you know he's meant to be a pastor, because he's named after one of their favorite pastimes. And yeah, I'll say if kids are like in the sanctuary and they're like being disruptive on their phones, they should have better etiquette. But also, like, if you actually want them to hear a sermon, why would you kick them out? I just cannot believe this disrespect that you are showing me. I mean, God. All of you need to get out right now. Why aren't there any kids in the church anymore, man? So this Phil guy and Steven from earlier had very similar freakouts about how you should just go to another church.
And they got 9 different translations of the Bible, and nobody has enough guts to preach, then that's where you need to go.
Like, why are you telling me to get out and then telling me about a church that sounds way better than yours? There's a church with a pastor that's not a massive dickhead. Take me to there. Show me to me, Rachel. So now we know that pastors are kicking people out of their church for being on their phones, asking for prayer, and get ready for this one.
I'm to the place right now, if you vote Democrat, I don't even want you around this church. You can get out. Oh, fuck. You can get out, you demon. You can get out, you baby butchering election thief. I don't care how mad that makes you. You get pissed off as you want to. They are God-denying demons that butcher babies and hate this nation. Oh!
Yep, I'm gonna get some totally normal comments about this one. Now look, I don't want to say that if you think like this, then you have a fundamental misunderstanding of the Bible, but like, come on guys, we need to stop abortion. If there's no babies, then how else are the pastors supposed to find their third wives? And did he just say that Democrats were election thieves? Got it. I'll totally listen to the pastor that just cussed in his sermon.
You get pissed off as you want to.
And before anyone tries to come at me and says like, oh, Christians can cuss, that's fine. Like, I don't care about that. But I do think if you're a pastor giving a sermon that's being like broadcasted to the internet, you should probably have a little decorum and like not do that. The power of God is here tonight. So if any of you dumb try and do anything, I will your up. Now, where's my $20? Another pretty glaring thing is that I don't think churches are supposed to endorse like any political like party or candidate at all. Since, you know, like one of the founding fathers said that there should be a wall of separation between church and state, which is weird because I thought they liked walls, but I must have been mistaken. And not to mention the fact if a church has that little 501c3 thing that makes them tax exempt, there is like a prohibition of any political involvement that could result in getting that revoked, which this pastor, Greg Locke, admitted that they had at one point. Dude, what is up with some of these names? These can't be all of their real names, right? Like Greg Locke, Phil Kidd. I'm gonna become a preacher and make my name Tony Fun. I'm gonna be Tony Fun. Doesn't that sound like someone you want to give $20 to? Anyways, Greg Locke mentioned his church's 501c3 to admit that he got rid of it.
I got an attorney, and I dissolved our stinking 501c3 in this church because the government ain't gonna tell me what I can and what I can't say.
Now, is it possible that he actually did give it up because they didn't want to risk losing it and, you know, he wanted to keep telling everyone the things that he probably said at the insurrection on January 6th because he was actually there? Sure, right? But is it also possible that it got revoked after he was reported to the IRS for that little tangent earlier? Who's to say? All I can think of is him thinking it's awesome until, like, they get that first property tax bill. You thought Marvin Sapp was being greedy. Now look, we're not asking for much. We just want you to skip this month's rent or mortgage payment and just redirect that to the kingdom of God. You know, we could really use the money to pay for something that we would have never had to if I had kept Trump's dick out of my mouth. Okay, so let's put his political opinions to the side and talk about some of his other notable feats, like threatening to expose witches that have infiltrated his church.
We got first and last names of 6 witches that are in our church. And you know what's strange? 3 of you are in this room right now. You better look in my eyeballs. We ain't afraid of you, you stinking witch. You devil-worshiping Satanist witch. We got your first name. We got your last name. We even got an address for one of you.
Wow, that's insane. And you're sure they're witches. And if they are, then they're probably like really attractive to try to seduce you to like witchcraft and things like that. And if you like had their name and number, I should probably know that. Also, side note, does anybody remember that like preacher kid that was on Oprah? For anyone that doesn't know, there was this like preacher kid who kept getting in trouble because he was being obnoxious, just like regurgitating Bible verses and stuff he probably heard on TV before. And then he went on Oprah and it was pretty much figured out that he had no idea what he was actually saying.
Duffy, do you understand what you just said? Could you put into your own words what you just said?
Means, well, I know what it means, but it's just hard to understand. But you gotta realize that
Yeah, I really get that vibe from this guy. He kind of seems like he wants to talk about like the gays and the Democrats, but then when you ask him like what biblical knowledge he has, he's just like, the what? The Bible? What is that? I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Now, moving on, Greg's church also hosted a book burning. Yeah, and they were burning things like tarot cards, crystals, voodoo dolls, and books like Harry Potter and Twilight. Oh, I understand now. I see what he's doing here. Greg's burning the Harry Potter books in solidarity with the trans community. He's helping them take a stand against J.K. Rowling, and I think that's perfect. Thank you so much, Greg. We love a trans ally. I would also like to know where his church got these things to burn, like in the first place. Like either you went to the store and bought this stuff just to burn it, which does nothing because they already have your money, or you already had it in your possession, which I don't think Greg would like that much. Maybe that's how he was drawing out the witches. He sees somebody throwing a crystal in and then he just throws them into. Somebody should have gone with Greg's books that he's written. So I heard we were burning cultist books. Why don't we start here? Like, I'm not reading a book that was written by someone who was divorced and remarried within 3 months. Oh yeah, this guy, Greg Locke, got divorced in May of 2018, and by August he was already remarried to a woman that worked for the church and was a close family friend of his. But don't worry, because Greg swears up and down there was no infidelity involved. And I don't know if that makes it any better or not, because that means that you were able to have a divorce finalized, so you were technically single, and then start dating and get serious enough to remarry someone within 3 months after that. Like, that just makes you look a little unstable, which is supported by all the other shit you've done. And I don't know if I fully agree with this part, but there were calls that he was disqualified from being a pastor for having a divorce, including none other than Steven Anderson from earlier. Uh-oh, the girls are fighting. You know, Steven might be a homophobic, racist, allegedly domestically abusive anti-Semite, but one thing he isn't is divorced. Oh man, all right, you know what? I'm putting the phone down. I'm done. You know, I could go on and on about these weird weird posters. These weird posters. I've had enough bad pastors for one day. And you know what? They weren't even that bad. I didn't see a single sexy pastor today, so this video was for nothing. And like I said earlier, these guys don't represent like every single pastor. There's plenty out there that are nice and caring and won't kick you out for asking for prayer. But if you ever hear or see a pastor who's only concerned about money or like their own ego, then that's probably a church you should just avoid. And after you avoid that church, you should probably call the IRS just to be safe. You know, like make them do something good for once. So thank you all so much for watching today's video. Make sure you leave a like and comment down below if you enjoyed it. And also, if there's any other weird pastors you know of that you might want me to cover in a future video, you can let me know down below. And also make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. You'll never miss an upload from me, and it means the world. And you want to be nice to me. I'll pull a Marvin Sapp and just be like, close the doors. No one can leave until you're subscribed to this channel. So thank you all again for watching. Stay safe out there, especially if you go to Greg Locke's church. And I'll see you next time. Later.
In the house for a very long time. Never I cease, I get better like wine. Soul searching, found me online. No end of my reach, got a hand on the skies. Stop being so emotional, what you smoking on? About time I open up, you can't roll with us. If you want peace, go and throw up the sign.
Bye, bit.